Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Kim and welcome back to Uncommonkim. So we're now in the midst of Summerween, and I'm hoping you're enjoying your time during Summerween. I thought I would bring you a couple of recommendations for books I have read for each of the prompts we have been given for Summerween this year. So I'm going to quickly read you out the prompts, and then I'm going to go through each prompt and recommend you a book or two for each prompt. In case you're struggling with prompts or you just want recommendations in general, I thought this was quite a cool idea. So we have read a book in the dark or at night. We have a horror or a thriller. We have a book with a sky on the cover. We have a book you've owned longer than a year. And we have a novella, graphic novel or spooky audiobook. So I'm going to go through each individual prompt and recommend you a book or two of something I read and I really enjoyed, and I think it's something you might enjoy while reading with this prompt. Okay, so for the first prompt, which is read a book in the dark or at night, I am recommending you Murder Road by Simone St. James. And reason for this is I think this is a really good book to read at night or in the dark because of its spooky vibes. So in this we follow April and Eddie, who have taken a wrong turn while I believe they were going on holiday. And they end up down this long and dark road late at night, and then they see a woman ahead clearly in trouble. They stop, they pick her up, they put her in the car, and then they realise she's bleeding and there is blood. Then far off in the distance they see some car headlights turn on and start racing towards them. And then the woman speaks. "I'm sorry, he's coming." And I loved this book. I read it back in January and I really enjoyed my time with it. It was my first Simone St. James, and it was a really good time. The writing is amazing. The audiobook is really worth it as well if you're into your audiobooks. I just think this is a fun, spooky time and perfect for Summerween. Okay, next we have a horror or a thriller, which obviously is the main two books you may read through Summerween. So I have two recommendations for you. I have a YA thriller and I have a mystery / horror. And I'll start with the horror, which is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This was actually my first ever Riley Sager, and I read it a couple of years ago for Summerween and I loved it. It really gives me Verity vibes. If you've read Verity, this gives me Verity vibes. It is so addictive and twists and turns throughout the whole book. I could not put this down. It was so good. So basically everyone believes that this woman in this house right here, is a mass murderer. Her entire family was massacred years before and she was the only survivor. But now she's completely paralysed and completely mute, until she decides she wants to tell her side of the story, and a new caregiver who comes to take care of her in this house offers to help her tell her side of the story of what actually happened that night. I really enjoyed my time with this one. The writing was amazing and I thought it was told so well and it's so gripping throughout. And I think it's a nice place to start with like a thrillery, mystery, horror-y book. I think it has a very good mixture of all three genres, to be perfectly honest. It's definitely worth a read. I love this. It was so good. And then the YA thriller I'm going to recommend to you. A lot of you won't be surprised to see this one, but it's The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This is my favourite book of last year and I will continue to recommend this till the day I die. So in this we follow Belle, who is a young girl who at the age of 2 was abandoned by her mother in a car, but her mother was then never seen again. And we are then back to modern day where she lives with her dad and she has like her auntie and her uncle, and they have decided, her dad has decided to allow someone to make a documentary about the disappearance of Rachel Price. And while making said documentary, Rachel Price reappears. But it doesn't seem like she's telling the complete truth about what's happening, and everything is just very suspicious. But this was such a great time. I love Holly Jackson, I love her writing, I will read everything she ever writes, and this was just phenomenal. I read it in like 12 hours. I loved it so much. The characters are so lovable, especially Belle, bless her. She's too easy to fall in love with, and you're kind of rooting for her the whole way through, but the twists and turns in this is phenomenal. I did not see that ending coming, but it was so good. I really recommend this to anyone and everyone. Next we have a sky on the cover. Now, I really struggled with this prompt for myself to read for this month's Summerween, but also just to find books in general that I actually have read with a sky on the cover. But I did find one, and that is The Drift by C.J. Tudor. If you don't know, I'm a huge C.J. Tudor fan, and I have read pretty much all of her books by one, which is on my Summerween TBR for this year. And The Drift I read a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed this. I believe I gave it 5 stars in the end. It is so twisty-turvy and so gripping, and C.J. Tudor, she is the female Stephen King in my opinion. Her writing is phenomenal, it is addictive, it's so well written. I love her. And I can't wait to see what she comes out with next. So in this book we have multiple perspectives kind of around this, what would I call it, like wintry, cold part of the world, let's say. So we have an overturned coach full of students who are all trapped, a stranded cable car full of strangers, one of them is dead, an isolated chalet full of friends. Soon there'll be enemies. They're all kind of stuck in this snowstorm, but there is a murderer going around, and you have these 3 sets of timelines that you're following, and soon they all start linking together. It's very much like locked mystery, like dystopian, because they literally are on their own. It's such a good vibe. I really was unsure going into this how much I would like it. Obviously I loved C.J. Tudor, but it just, the kind of concept of it, I was really unsure, but it hooked me pretty quickly. I'm pretty sure, like, I can't remember where I saw, yeah, literally on the first page there's just like a little, I don't know what you would call it, like just a little chat, little dribble of like what's to come kind of thing, and I read that and I was just then like, sign me up, and I read this well quick. So it's definitely worth a read, and obviously has got Sky on the cover. Okay, so next we obviously have Owned for Over a Year. Now what you've owned for over a year and what I've owned for over a year may be different, but I'm going to recommend you 2 books I've read that I have owned for over a year, because I don't know what else to do for this prompt. So I'm going to bring back C.J. Tudor again, but I'm going to bring back The Other People, which is the first book of hers that I read, and this is what got me on the bandwagon with reading C.J. Tudor. I fell in love with her writing just after this book, and it's very gripping, very twisty-turvy, and I think that's what I love about C.J. Tudor the most, is the twisty-turviness of her writing, and you just never know what's going to come next. And I tell you what, to this day I've never been able to guess what, who, where, when, why. Never. I don't think I could. So in this book we do follow different perspectives again. C.J. Tudor typically does this a lot in her books, but it works really well. So one day we follow, one of the characters we follow is a guy called Gabe, and one day he's driving home stuck behind an old rusty car. Gabe sees a little girl face appear on the rear window. She mouths one word. Daddy. It's his 5-year-old daughter, Izzy. He never sees her again. 3 years later, Gabe spends his nights and days travelling up and down the motorway, searching for that car and searching for his daughter. The other perspectives that we follow is Fran and Alice. Fran and Alice also put up a lot of miles up and down the motorway, but not searching. They're running. But Fran knows the truth, and Fran knows the truth of what happened to Gabe's daughter Izzy as well. And it's so good. I really recommend it. It was the aspect of he was driving home and his daughter was in front of him that gripped me in to begin with, and that part of the story is amazing. I very, very much recommend this. And then more of like a horror-y vibe is the Southerners Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This was one of the first Grady Hendrix I ever read, and it definitely gives you an insight to his writing and how addictive his stories can be. I love this. This was so good. We follow I think this is only one perspective, no? Where's the... Oh, here we go. So we follow someone called Patricia, who goes to her local book club in her little small town, but somebody new then moves into the town just opposite her house. He makes her feel things she's not felt in years, but then children on the other side of town start going missing, and Patricia wonders if they're connected with the new person who has moved into town. And it's very... as soon as like you get to the bit where the children start going missing, for a book that's quite big, it then goes really fast paced, because you're reading Patricia's point of view, and then something will happen, and then you're reading her point of view, and then something will happen, and you very quickly then move through this book, and it is very good. I very much enjoyed my time with it, but it does have like blackout pages because you go over quite a long space of time. So it's just very good. Just read it, you know. Okay, and then the final prompt. So the final prompt is to read a novella, graphic novel, or a spooky audiobook. So I've done one for each because why not? So for novella, I have gone for Ankle Snatcher by Grady Hendrix. I literally read this like last month, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It is creepy. It is weird. It's very short and very addictive, which is just classic Grady Hendrix. I don't want to tell you the plot because it's so short. You might as well just read it. But it is very good. It is a part of the Creature Feature series, where a bunch of horror authors have wrote small novellas. I believe they're available on Kindle Unlimited, but they're also extremely cheap on Audible. So don't use your credits, just buy them because they're very, very cheap on Audible. I've really enjoyed my time with Ankle Snatcher, and I'm very interested to get to the rest of the Creature Feature series. And then for graphic novel, I'm recommending you Pumpkinheads. Pumpkinheads I have read probably 5 times in my life, and I read it every year, and I love it so much. It's so cute. So cute, so cozy, perfect Halloween vibes. We follow 2 characters who worked on this huge pumpkin patch, and every autumn they go back to the pumpkin patch and they work, but they're going off to university, so it's their last time on the pumpkin patch, and it's about them exploring through the pumpkin patch and their last shift on the pumpkin patch not being boring and being an adventure. So they go through the pumpkin patch, you get to meet all of their friends and a goat and an annoying child that steals food and so on and so forth, and it's so cute and cozy. I really, really recommend this. It's so easy to fly through, and if you haven't read it, just read it because I just love this book. Honestly, I've read it so many times, and every year I still give it 5 stars. There we go. And then the last book and the last prompt. So for audiobook, I am recommending you The Night Swim by Megan Goldin. The audiobook for this is amazing because we follow a true crime podcaster, and so some parts of the book you are listening to the podcast, and it does feel like it's a podcast, and it's just so well written, and the narrators are really good, and I just really loved this book. So yeah, we follow true crime podcaster Rachel Crow, but she's come over to this small seaside town to be a part of a devastating trial. A golden boy swimmer, Olympic swimmer, has been accused of rape of the police chief's granddaughter. So the whole thing has gone to court, and Rachel has gone to cover said trial at court. But while this is also happening, Rachel finds a note on the windscreen of her car. Someone is begging her for help because 25 years ago somebody drowned in this very small town, and no one was ever convicted of the murder. And it's very good, very twisty, very turvy, and it's fun to be in a court environment, but also fun just to be around this small town. And it does back and forth sometimes with timelines, so you go back in time and then you come back to present day, and it just works really well, to be perfectly honest. And there is a second book in this series now called, I don't know, Dark Corners, I think, which I haven't read yet, but I'm very excited to, because we follow Rachel Crow again, so I'm thinking I'm gonna like that. But there we go. There is a book recommendation for you for every single prompt for this year's Summerween. Let me know if you're going to read any of them, or if you've already read them. I'd love to know. Leave me a knife emoji down below to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Like and subscribe if you're new, as we're on our way to 500 subscribers, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Bye.